Hey guys, this is Jamie. So today I wanted to talk about me and my partner were actually thinking like calling this video transphobia of the week because I kind of stumbled upon a lot of different really weird discussions, but I'll try to stick to the topic, uh, which is really transphobia. Um, this is something that has been brewing in my head, and specifically when talking to people who still have sort of, I wouldn't say doubts, but like thoughts about transitioning, about their own identity, and etc. I find it really, I wouldn't say interesting is the right word for it, but I do find a connection that very often such people sort of relate to more classical feminist theory and usually towards radical feminist theories. And obviously at the time people were more keen looking at radical feminist theory because, well, the times weren't very favorable for women, and a lot of people really sort of wanted to stand up for women, stand up for equality, uh, gender equality as well, and other things. I personally do not see myself properly as a feminist because I care mostly about LGBT rights, and I feel that it also depends on the cause. Like, I grew up in a very sort of equal household, or rather, ideally uh, beliefs, and even though my parents had not the best dynamics, after the divorce, my mom was quite vocal about feminism, and she borders even to this day sometimes in radical. So I was, and growing up, because my parents were, uh, well, of Soviet Union descent really, and their parents didn't really have a lot of struggles, specifically the woman as well. So to me, it's a bit difficult sometimes to even understand that women didn't work for a really long while, and I have spoken about it in this channel in the past, but it's still something that sometimes I feel like I don't understand the scope, and I really try to learn more. And again, even if I don't feel like I'm comfortable with the sort of the idea of identifying as a feminist, I do really support a lot of feminist causes. I do think that there are certain decisions that should be discussed, wage gaps in Brazil, different abortion laws, and etc. But I feel like as we progress, it's not just a woman's issue, but it's an issue of many people, many different genders. So that's why I kind of say that I'm more of an LGBT activist, because I mostly focus on that, and it's what I'm more aware of. So yeah, so and I did study quite in depth feminism, quite in depth in my sociology years in college and stuff like that. So obviously, I do understand the contextual needs, and sort of at the time, sometimes you need to go into radical views, and certain things worked, certain things were done, and etc. Like, I do not understand now from a very critical perspective the inclination to be interested in these radical things, and specifically right now when there's a massive sort of division, specifically between TERFs and the rest of the normal population. I feel like feminism, specifically when it comes to trans rights, unless it's trans feminism or a very inclusive branch of feminism, it really falls short. And the more I feel like when we look back at feminism, it really shows how unaccepting it was of a woman. But again, that's just me going into a deep analysis. When it comes to the subjects, I feel like different trans people of age sort of feel that, again, because they grew up where more radical feminism sort of was on par, was sort of the way to go, or where the authors were cited, there were bigger movements at the time, and things weren't, I wouldn't say things weren't as complicated, but trans people weren't as accepted, and yeah, I mean, TERFism was just getting started really at the time, so, and people were sort of closing their eyes on that and focusing more on what can feminism do when the situation was difficult for women, really. Now, this whole thing is because I was really just wiki diving, and it's I don't know how well this is sort of known, but I always sort of was curious about how different people with different identities felt in current society in previous years and etc. And I came across the creator of Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is Richard O'Brien, and he goes by he/him pronouns, just for the record, I checked. And he identifies as a third gender. And he had been taking estrogen for quite a while, and but regardless of being trans and identifying obviously as non-binary from what I understand, he has been very outspoken about being transphobic towards trans people, specifically trans women, and quoting certain TERFs like Jermaine Greer. I'm sorry if I'm butchering a TERF's name, but at the same time it's a TERF, so no feelings were really hurt. And this really kind of made me think a lot longer. So sort of like, obviously trans people weren't in the discussion as much. Obviously, if someone is non-binary weren't as discussed as much. And in general, what made me look at this topic was the fact that we ourselves are sort of digging our own hole, because people are really trying to separate trans people from cis people these days. And I'm not talking just for TERF hate or transphobia, but the sole fact that people really feel as if there's like a third sort of exception to us. And I have seen a sort of, in my opinion, alarming sort of amount of references to transphobic scholars, which I feel like have no place in today's society. But people do keep quoting them, and for instance, one of them is my dearly hated by myself, Leslie Feinberg. I cannot stand him. I have a whole video on it. It's one of my most viewed videos, and I really, really dislike everything they stood for. And it's really sort of annoying in a way, because I would have appreciated some scholar who is transmasc, for instance, but not transphobic to oneself and to others, and who was not in Mitch Fest, did not write such a fucking disaster book like Stonewatch Blues. um, to be sort of quoted, and they used to be a Marxist. I do not enjoy fully their Marxist takes, even though I myself am very lefty and commie. So yeah, and right now specifically with the sort of Israeli-Palestine conflict, war, there's a lot of quotes going around because they were very outspoken on the issue. And I just want to bury Leslie again and just forget about them. But we're not about this and that life, I guess, in my lifetime. So I really hope that by my adopted children lifetimes, they will be truly gone at least. So I feel like when I see certain like elderly trans people relate to certain TERFs, and now I see people relating to Leslie, I'm like, well, this is the same shit. So that really kind of irks me. Because right now we're in a very difficult spot where there's a lot of transphobia, there's a lot of TERFs, there's J.K. Rowling spewing even more hate. And I understand that people say, oh, it's just like one lady. Yeah, but the sheer amount of damage she's done, you know? So I'm very not okay with this idea that people go around praising TERFs or thinking that trans people are a third thing. And I do want to say that if someone is non-binary, obviously they can say a certain thing and identify as a third gender. But when it comes to things like Richard O'Brien saying stuff like, oh, because you remove your genitals or have surgeries doesn't make you a woman, and then we have our generation say stuff like, oh, Leslie is great, and there's like a trans man identifying as a lesbian, which Leslie was, or like a trans mask, and with these really weird takes and fucking Stone Bush Blues and depth, and the fact that it was written while Leslie was attending Mitchfest and it's still being praised as if it's a very enlightened book when it's just filled with transphobia is really annoying. And so we keep looking at these scholars, and while I do understand that we want some representation or some sort of history to look back onto, we shouldn't be clinging onto any TERF actually. So I just see this sort of pattern falling, and I really don't like it. And I do understand that history repeats itself twice, but for fuck's sake, you know. So you have like non-binary people who speak out, but it just, and like I do understand that obviously non-binary people can identify with more trans femme people, trans women, trans masks, trans men. There's also like those which identify as a completely different thing, where there's agender people. But just because one trans person or like a certain transgender identifies as a certain way, trans is that for them, doesn't mean that they have to do a blanket statement on that and be transphobic towards others. And in Richard O'Brien's case, it was really that no matter how many surgeries you do, you'll never be a natural woman. And these concepts of natural biological woman are just nonsense. Like, what is a natural woman? What is a biological man? Like, sure, you can go down, like, if you strip at everything, you can go down to sort of like chromosomes, or if you go by brain patterns, trans people do have, like, trans men have men brains and etc. Then how do we feel? Our dysphoria, the rush of hormones we were given during birth, before our genitals formed, etc. So there's a lot of factors which just prove that we are man, woman, between neither on the side of the one side or the other. There's a lot of different things, and seeing these absolutely unhinged takes just really baffles me. And I really try to sort of be understanding and not biased, but when someone says that trans people are different just because they're trans and they're less like trans women or less woman than woman, it just really revolts me. And well, just like it would revolt me if someone said to my face that trans men aren't men. And it's just a it's a transphobic statement. And sometimes I understand that it comes from a place of people feeling like they're not trans enough or feeling their own dysphoria. That what if they feel that they're not trans enough to be the gender they feel or are. And it's really sort of difficult, and I understand that sort of right now in terms of transphobia, like people are really questioning. There's a lot of sort of risks as well. It's not that you can just wake up one day, feel like you're trans and go down and get hormones. Like I do understand there's consent forms and everything, but other than that, and a few of those cases in the States, like you really get assessed a lot. You get checked, they really check you through, they look at your history, they look at your life. You have to live as yourself for a bit before you can even go on the hormones. So I don't understand that. And then you go, and there's these also takes about mutilating children's genitals, and to me it's even more bizarre because I know cases of 18 plus getting surgeries. I do know a very handful of cases where trans men do have top surgery, but it's very little, and with the backlash, it's even getting harder. So I guess transphobia just doesn't make sense in my brain. That's about it, really. So I really get worn down and tired seeing all these takes, and I just hate that we're falling into this pattern of listening to unhinged TERFs like Leslie Feinberg, Hermione Greer, so yeah. Like these TERFs paved the way for transphobia. Why are we paving even more transphobia into our lives when we have plenty of it, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry for looking this way. I really need to trim like my hair, my facial hair. I've just been really exhausted, and I just have a lot of studying to do, and I've been ill for quite a while, so I just recovered, even though I'm still snotty. So yeah. If you want a sort of more in-depth analysis of Leslie Feinberg, I do have a video on them. I really hate them. If I could literally, I mean, besides political, obviously, if I could literally erase someone's relevance in society, I would. Leslie Feinberg's, I would, without a doubt, I wouldn't hesitate to be like, get rid of them. I'm tired. So yeah. So if you want to watch that video, please feel free. I'll try to put it in the link in the description so you can watch it for more context, I really go in depth there. And other than that, thank you very much for watching. I've been really appreciating all the support I've been getting, even though obviously I get some hate comments here and there, but that's part of the thing. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a comment. Um, if you hated it, I mean, okay, I don't know what to tell you. If you support Leslie, get fucked. I don't know. What do I say? So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you very much.